verdict forms, please. Do I need to start from state of Tennessee versus? Okay. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty in count 3 of indictment number 25-01253.
Would you like the jury poll?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll start on this end. Is that your verdict?
Yes.
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 Is that your verdict? Is that your verdict?
Yes.
Is that your verdict?
Yes.
Is that your verdict?
Yes.
Is that your? Now that you have concluded your service on this case, I thank you for your patience and conscientious attention to your duty as jurors. You have not only fulfilled your civic duty, but you have also made a personal contribution to the ideal of equal justice for all people. You may have questions about the confidentiality of the proceedings. Because the case is over, you are free to discuss the case with any person you choose. However, you do not have to talk to anyone about the case if you do not want to. If you tell someone you do not wish to talk about it and they continue to bother you, let the court know, for we can protect your privacy. If you do decide to discuss the case with anyone, I would suggest you treat it with a degree of solemnity, so that whatever you say, you will be willing to say in the presence of your fellow jurors or under oath here in open court in the presence of all the parties. Also, if you do decide to discuss the case, please respect the privacy of the views of your fellow jurors. Your fellow jurors fully and freely stated their opinions and deliberations with the understanding they were being expressed in confidence. Again, I thank you for your willingness to give of your time away from your accustomed pursuits and faithfully discharge your duties as jurors. You are now excused. I will be back to speak with you shortly, so I'll show you excused to the jury room. Ms. Daniels, if you would please stand. A jury of your peers has found you guilty of second-degree murder in count 1. The jury has found you guilty of, in count 2, of reckless endangerment, and the jury has found you not guilty in count 3. As a 13th juror, I approve that verdict. We'll show your bond revoked, and we'll show this matter set for sentencing.
Thank you.
January the 12th.
We'll need to do a pre-sentence report. If we could get a shorter date to get the pre-sentence report back,
Okay.
that way we don't have to reset it once we get it.
Okay.
We can reserve January the 12th
But
and
just
then get a sooner date for the report.
Actually hoping to be in Cabo that week.
On January 12th?
I'm hoping.
Okay. We'll get it.
December or?
We can get a December date and then pick a date this. It's just to get the report.
December 17th?
December the 17th, a good day. All
Yes,
right.
Your Honor.
Yes.
All right, we'll show this matter set for sentencing on December the 17th. All right, we can show court adjourned.
All rise. This all the court stands adjourned till Monday morning, 9 a.m.
Been closing arguments that took place earlier in the day, and then deliberation lasted for several hours here this afternoon. But I want to run you down a little bit of the background of this case for anybody who might just be joining us, and tell you more about the background and information that has been presented here, but also more details about the closing argument and more what we heard from both prosecutors and defense today. Now, first, just as a bit of a reminder, Daniels was accused of shooting Mississippi Boulevard Baptist Church pastor Brodes Perry in November of 2019 at his apartment in Collierville. Now, during closing arguments today, the defense harped on the fact that they are not saying Daniels is completely blameless in this case. They said that she is guilty, but not guilty of the counts and charges that were initially against her. Now, in opposition to that, the prosecution has noted that they don't believe emotions, they don't believe a heart posture of any way should intentionally get in the way of a ruling that would really serve justice for Brodes Perry in this particular case. Now, again, she was accused in that shooting, found guilty of second-degree murder, found guilty of reckless endangerment, but not guilty on that third count there. As a bit of background to tell you a bit more about this case, again, she was accused of shooting Brodes Perry at his apartment in Collierville in 2019. She was also accused of shooting his wife. That's also something that has been coming out into these investigations and reports as well. She testified that she had a sexual relationship with Perry that began during a counseling session. He was a well-known and respected pastor, according to what she had testified there. And she claimed that her stepfather was also somebody who was well known in the community, but that there were frequent intervention and disputes between him and her mother at this time. Now, she also said that she was aware that Perry was married when their sexual relationship began. This is according to her testimony, and that she knew more about his wife and got to know her a little bit better through their relationship. She was very visibly emotional at that time when she recounted from the time they met to the time this relationship began, but she also had talked about how she says their primary mode of communication was through messaging, and how there were some discrepancies with some deleted messages immediately after they were sent. So there was quite a bit of detail that she had really recounted in there. You can see her there. She was visibly emotional during that testimony that she gave when she took the stand. But she also talked a lot about the order in which she knew him. She talked about gaining some trust through him, and as those counseling sessions initially began, that's when a deeper relationship really began to form throughout all of that, and eventually leading up to this unfortunate incident there. Again, I think it's really important to note how much the defense in this case was saying that she was not completely blameless in this circumstance and in this situation. They said that she had some fault, that she had never once taken the position that she was somebody who was not at fault in this situation, just that she should not be found guilty in the particular charges that were brought forward in this case there. Now, of course, the prosecution took a different position in saying that those emotions should not get in the way of getting justice for Brodes Perry in this case. And clearly, ultimately, the jury found that a guilty verdict was the way to go in the majority of this case. Now, again, this incident happened in 2019. There were a lot of very specific instances that were talked about throughout the duration of this trial that lasted for several days in this case. She talked about claims that Brodes Perry was rough and, quote, cold with her in a way that she was not used to, especially after she testified that their sexual relationship had began. She also said that the incident made her feel used and in a bad emotional state. And she said that he was often cold towards her during a certain period of time. Again, she did testify that she was aware that he was married and that she was familiar and eventually became closer with his wife, especially after that more intimate relationship began. She also decided to stay with a friend in Pine Bluff after that specific incident. She talked about needing to get away after, she says, that cold and rough relationship between the two of them eventually began. She did not specifically say what had caused that or why she felt that turn initially happened, but that was certainly a turning point for her in the emotional relationship that she testified she had between her and Perry at that time. She also discussed the events of the day of his murder, April 4th, 2019. She said that she got a text from Perry in that morning, but did not get a response until hours after that happened. She said that there was a breakup that eventually happened there that eventually made her feel worthless in this situation. We do have sound that just came from that verdict and what we were hearing read there. We want to take you to that so you can listen to it now.
State of Tennessee versus Latoshia Daniels, indictment number 25-01253. Verdict form count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of second-degree murder as included in count 1 of indictment number 25-01253. State of Tennessee versus Latoshia Daniels, indictment number 25-01253. Verdict form count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of reckless endangerment as included in count 2 of indictment number 25-01253. State of Tennessee versus Latoshia Daniels, indictment number 25-01253. Verdict form count 3. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty in count 3 of indictment number 25-01253.
So there you just heard that verdict being read there. Again, Latoshia Daniels was found guilty of second-degree murder. She was also found guilty of reckless endangerment, but not guilty of the third count in this case. And again, throughout the duration of this trial, we did hear a lot of specific details about the intimate relationship that Daniels testified she had between Pastor Brodes Perry and about how specifically close they were. She went over text messages. She went over intimate other relationship details, saying that they had a sexual relationship in this case, and even talked about when they eventually broke up, how she wanted to do harm to herself and the several hours that she spent driving to Memphis before Perry's shooting took place, before Perry was killed in that case. So again, lots of very intimate details provided there. I think a really important point to mention there is the way that they were asking about those messages, the way that they were asking about the specifics, and how she was able to convey how heartbroken she was between the time that they met, between when she says that he began acting cold-hearted to her after that intimate relationship began, and then eventually when that breakup happened and her wanting to harm herself before spending those hours driving, and eventually that shooting in April taking place. There were very specific details mentioned there. She talked about how Daniel specifically talked about how she had not been her normal, healthy self in all of this, and that she had not really been in a good mental state for the entire day that the murder took place, which was April 4th, 2019. She also talked about she wanted to harm herself on that day as well, and had been wanting to harm herself in the days that had been leading up to this as well. So clearly we're seeing the difference between the deterioration of their relationship and when Daniels finally decided to take the drive that eventually ended in Brodes Perry being shot and killed in this instance. We did hear quite a bit again today in closing arguments from the prosecution, from the defense in this case, who talked about the extent of how she should be treated, specifically the emotional state that she was in, and how she is not completely blameless in this entire case, but that they should not have found her guilty of the charges that were being brought against her. The prosecution very starkly opposed to that, saying that heartbrokenness should not have caused this crime to happen, that emotional state should not have been something that eventually led to a pastor and a man dying in this case. And so that opposition seemed to weigh quite heavily, as we could see in the courtroom. There was a lot of a reaction that we just even saw there when that verdict was being read and eventually brought down. And people's, just the complete stoicness of the moment in people's faces and how clearly concerned they were in this. We actually, I'm hearing that we have live now one of the attorneys in this case who is willing to speak with us at this time a little bit more. We're going to take you down to the courthouse now so you can hear from them.
December, I don't remember what date it is. I don't anticipate that she'll be sentenced on that day. That's more just to make sure the progress of the pre-sentence report is in, and then I think we will get a date to sentence her in December, and it may be the first of the year before we actually get a sentence.
And lastly, what factors do you think might have played a role in the verdict?
Well, I mean, the difference between first and second degree murder is premeditation. And the jury, it seems obvious to me, that just made a determination that we had not met our burden of proof on premeditation. We had proved that it was a knowing killing of another person, but we just didn't quite get there on premeditation. And like I said, we can disagree with it and respect it both at the same time, and that's where we are. It's not exactly what we asked for, but it's not a bad verdict.
That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Can I add one thing? A lot of work went into this case. Collierville PD put a lot of work into it. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, the medical examiner's office, and a lot of people at our office. So the case was a cumulative effort between a lot of agencies and a lot of work, and we appreciate everything that they did on that as well.
What kind of sentencing are we looking at here, possibly?
So by statute, the range offender that she is, second degree murder carries 15 to 25, and then the reckless endangerment's a Class D. It carries 2 to 4 years.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
And there we just heard from an attorney of the state there, prosecution in this case, who spoke about the difference between first and second degree murder and the burden of proof that they had in this case. They said the difference between first and second degree murder was premeditation, and that they simply were not able to prove that in this particular case. And of course, the jury found Daniels, again to recap, guilty of second degree murder, reckless endangerment, but not guilty of count 3 in this case. We hear from the defense at this time. We see them approaching the podium. Let's hear from them now.
One of the things that you guys focused on was, Perry's manipulation and their relationship and how that really resulted in what you guys described as a crime of passion. So how do you all feel with this verdict that came down today?
I mean, I have mixed feelings. From day one, we believe that this was a voluntary manslaughter. We believe count 2, the reckless, was criminal intent reckless homicide was a fair verdict, and we were happy about the not guilty verdict on count 3. So again, we always thought that this was a crime of passion and that there was adequate provocation based upon his manipulation and the things that he did to her during the course of their relationship.
And you all called Latoshia Daniels to testify. Tell me what was the things that you guys thought about when you made that decision.
There was so much of this story that only Latoshia could tell. The police only had so much information, and Tabitha Perry did not have a lot of this information. So there was all of these gaps that there was no explanation for, that Latoshia had to be the one to fill in for the jury. But also, she wanted to tell her story to this jury. She wanted them to understand how she felt when this was happening. And that's why we did push for that voluntary manslaughter and the reckless endangerment, because she was under such emotional distress when this happened that she was not thinking clearly.
When you go to sentencing, will you push the fact that she has no criminal record and try and see if you can get, I think it carries 15 to 25 years, will you try and push for the lower end of that due to no criminal record in the past?
Absolutely. So second-degree murder in Tennessee has, for someone with no prior criminal history, has two potential ranges of punishment. There's a mitigated range that carries 13.5 years, and then there is a standard range one offender for someone with no prior felonies. That carries 15 to 25 years. We will absolutely be arguing that a woman who is 46 years old and has absolutely no criminal history and has done so much to try to better those around her. While she was incarcerated, she wrote a book for incarcerated mothers. She wrote a book for the children of incarcerated mothers. She has lived her life trying to help people. What happened on April the 4th of 2019 was not the actions that ever would have happened with Latoshia Daniels if she was not in that state of distress.
And how is she feeling? I know you guys have probably been able to talk to her. How is she feeling right now?
I mean, go ahead.
I think she's a little bit in shock. I think she's struggling with the idea that she's going to probably have to spend at least another decade in prison. But I think she also understands that, you know, this happened for a reason, and the way she handled her previous incarceration, I think she's going to be fine.
Could that prior prison time count towards?
Oh, absolutely. Whatever jail time she had, jail credit she had built up, that'll count toward the ultimate sentence she'll receive in Division 2.
I know you weren't the original attorney on this, but since you've worked with it, what has it been like as you've worked through it, what you've discovered? Has it been like peeling back an onion, or when you got it, was it really already mostly there? The evidence and the proof?
So like I said, this has been a very unique type of case that we talked to the jury about that day one, in that there's actually a disparity of information in our favor in this case, which is very, very unusual. So a lot of the discovery was not disputed information. Where the dispute came was from the mental state, and that could only come from Latoshia.
I think the other big point that needs to be emphasized here is, you know, a lot of times in our society we only view abuse as physical. And in this case, this really highlighted the mental abuse that she went through with this person that took advantage of her. I mean, he was supposed to be her therapist, and he knew her deepest, darkest secrets, and he used that against her, especially with her being a person that had prior mental health issues.
Attorney Horn, I arrived late and I apologize if this has been asked. Has she spoken to the pastor's wife since the shooting? And if so, what was that conversation like?
I don't think she's ever.
She wouldn't have been legally allowed to. There would have been bond conditions and other court order prohibitions against contact.
Has she expressed any interest in reaching out to her and apologizing or having a conversation with her?
I think that's something that probably will be addressed at sentencing, and just knowing Latoshia, getting to know her and the person that she is, I'm almost 99% sure that she will write a letter or make statements to Tabitha about her actions and apologizing for her actions. Because even in their banter back and forth, she was, you know, she didn't want to shoot her. She never meant to shoot her, and she was shocked. I think Tabitha was shocked when she was shot.
And Latoshia has been genuinely remorseful in all of our communications with her, not just as to Tabitha, but even as to Brodes. Like, this is a weight that she carries every day.
Is she getting mental health therapy in jail, and do you think that therapy is adequate?
She's been out of custody. She has been getting mental health help, and I know that I'm confident that she will continue to get mental health help, and I hope that they offer adequate services, but we won't know until time shows.
How much time did she spend in jail before the trial?
About 4 years. So she's got a little time under her belt.
Will that count toward the sentence?
Yes.
Time served, you think?
No.
No?
No.
It will count as jail credit, but that will not cover the range of exposure.
I think that's it. Or is anything else you want to add?
Can
No.
you spell names just to have it on file?
Arthur Horn, ARTHURHORNE.
Lauren Few.
There, we just finished hearing some really important points in this case from Latasha Daniels' attorneys there. I want to run through a couple of things that they said and the differences between what we just heard from state attorneys versus what we just heard from the defense in this case. First, recapping what we just heard about the mental and emotional abuse that they said that Latasha Daniels had encountered through all of this, specifically about how a relationship that was supposed to be counseling based, that was supposed to be positive and encouraging, eventually turned into something that they say was mentally and emotionally damaging in this particular case. They harped on how Latasha is genuinely remorseful for her actions and that she carries this with her every day, and that she has expressed remorse towards what happened to Brodes Perry as well as his wife in this particular instance. They also say that they believe this was a crime of passion and that they want to make sure that the public overall encourages and understands rather that this was a crime of passion, this was something that was emotionally driven, and that Latasha was the only person who could tell her story in this particular case. So clearly lots there. Again, just to recap, for anybody who might just be joining us, Latasha was found guilty of second-degree murder, reckless endangerment, but not guilty in that third count there. And we will, of course, continue to update you all on all of our ABC 24 platforms with more information and have more on this tonight at ABC 24 News at 10. Thank you for joining us.
Continue with us and watch free now on the 24 Plus app everywhere you stream.